Hello, this is Dominax here again with yet another Transformers video review. This time I'm taking a little trip down memory lane and going way back to the early 90s with Generation 2. This is the Evil Decepticon Leader Megatron, as he was seen in that era. You might notice that he's covered in lime green and purple camouflage. Given that it was the early 90s, I can forgive that color scheme, but ultimately the decision to make him a tank was a result of the toy safety regulations passed in the late 80s and early 90s, thus prohibiting the reissue of the Walther P-38 version of Megatron as he was in Generation 1. Thus, we, in Generation 2, didn't get a Megatron until 1994, a year past the release of Optimus Prime. So let's go ahead and get started. This is the box I have for it. That is all I have for it in terms of packaging or anything. What you will notice is the insert is a crude construct of my own design. I fashioned that together to more hold the figure in place inside the box without destroying the box or damaging the figure. So let's go ahead and get these out of the way. You'll notice, first off, that the details on the tracks are chrome. And as previously mentioned, he has the green and purple camouflage, with the cannon itself being the same shade of purple. Articulation in this mode is pretty minimal. The turret raises up and down. There's no rotation at all. He does have the spotlight here up on top that can pivot either direction, up or down. And the gun is stationary. There's no rotation hardly at all. Maybe a few degrees here and there. In this mode, he does have a few sound features. You depress the wheels on the underside. He has engine sounds. Also, you can depress the upper part of the tank here, this little flap, and you hear his command. I don't know why he has to order himself around, but evidently it was necessary in this G2 era. One thing I do kind of like is the fact that they really beefed up and emphasized the fact that he had the cannon, as he did in G1. But one thing I thought was kind of neat is the fact that they gave him more of a shotgun sound effect as opposed to a cannon effect. Here's what I mean. And this will launch missiles. He came with 6 missiles, by the way. But I'll get to that here in a minute. You take this trigger here. You hear that? Let's do that again. And we fire the missile. Oh, the missile didn't launch that time because it wasn't in place. And how that works is basically there's a hatch here up top. You have to be careful because this is known to break easily. And you can fit up to 4 of his 6 missiles in the chamber here. And that just closes right back down. Now the transformation is really simplistic for a figure of this size class. Take the sides of the upper turret here and fold them down to either side. Then you slide each section down. That sound is getting annoying, I apologize. Slide each section down. Then you take it, and the back half unlocks and separates downward, thus creating the upper and lower halves of the body. Each side of the lower tank has a flap that you then open up, thus revealing the upper legs and lower torso there. Then you can take and just pivot these around backwards at the knee joint, and they will lock into place, each of them. And the feet fold down as such. Now I will note here, the other 2 missiles. There's a chamber on the inside of each leg where you can store the missiles. They will just click in place there. Be careful, as they can fall out if you're not careful, and they are easily lost. So watch that when he's in robot mode. The panels just close back up, and then the torso here, sorry, get back in the frame here, will lock back in place. You'll hear it click. Then the arms you take and you rotate them down. Then at the elbow, you must rotate these 180 degrees before you can bend at the elbow joint. There's a little slot there that allows it to only bend upward or straighten out, then pivot. You can't do both, or you will break it. And the left arm is another sound effect that we have yet to touch on. But first we will take the gun out of the right arm. Let's get this more in frame here. Place the gun there. That's not required, but it would make the sound effect to make more sense. You raise it, and you have that sound effect. It's a blaster sound. I don't know why he would need that when he has the huge cannon, but I don't suppose it was meant to make sense. I'm actually almost out of room in the frame here. I'll have to actually bend the figure down to finish the review. I apologize. I lack a tripod, so bear with me, please. The final part of the transformation is you slide the cannon to the right shoulder. And upon going far enough, you'll first do that, but then it will unlatch the spring-loaded panel there, which houses the head. As you can see, it is kind of hard to get in the frame there. Here, let me just pick up the camera. That'll make things easier. It is very reminiscent to a tune-accurate G1 Megatron, although the face is purple. This is the first instance of the purple face as became customary in the Beast Wars version of Megatron, as was also this general color scheme, bouncing between gray and green and purple and all that over the years. That would be a repeating pattern for the next couple of generations. Overall, this figure is a pretty good display piece. You might want to give a little extra room on the shelf, allow some space, because this does take up quite a bit of space, both front to back, as well as side to side. It is a wide figure as well. I'd give it maybe a 7 or 8 out of 10. Could have had more articulation for its time, considering G2 was the main origin of the ball joint as we're accustomed to today. Not to say it was the only time it was used prominently, but this is when things really started to pick up in that department. And I thought that technology could have been used here, but it wasn't. So, once again, this has been Dominax, or Moroni Prime, whichever you know me as, wasting your time.